everyone, to Talk About TV, where we talk about all things experiential outdoor hospitality. I'm your host, Michelle Oliver, and today I am here with Ali Rasmussen with Spacious Skies, and I'm so excited to have a conversation with you. I know you are quite a celebrity in the space, and I just met you recently and got to hear a little bit about your story. And I'm thrilled that you're going to be here to share that story with everyone. Thank you, Ali.
Thank you for having me. We just met recently, right? But I
Yes.
have so enjoyed our conversations thus far, and so I'm excited to share what we have spoken about in the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah, for sure. So, would you share? I know most people already know who you are. I don't know how much about your story they know. Would you share just a little bit about how you wound up? Because I think this is one of the best stories, actually. How did you wind up being in this situation that you are today? You've had a really jam-packed journey.
we, we really have. So, yes, Spacious Skies Campgrounds today, as we know, it is a 15 campground collection up and down the East Coast from Maine to Georgia, and we own and operate the campgrounds. So every employee on a Spacious Skies campground works for Spacious Skies. So we are our own management company, but that's certainly not how it all started and how we thought we were going to run our campground. So, I mean, to take it all the way back, my husband Eric and I founded the company together after being together for I think about 7 or 8 years at the time, and our story began in business school at competing business schools, both sort of alternative business students, and both entrepreneurial and not knowing, yet how to put that energy into practice and do it together. I mean, sort of long story short, Eric, his background is in real estate development, so he knows real estate in and out,
Right.
knows
Very helpful.
acquisitions in particular, right? So
Mhm.
that is sort of, he is behind our ability to have acquired our 15, campgrounds so far in a very short period of time, under 15 months.
15
Um,
acquisitions in 15. It's basically one a month.
it was, yes, it was
Which is
a
no, who
pretty
else can
good
say
split.
they've done that? Yeah, it's remarkable.
And it was really hectic. And we were, acquiring campgrounds and figuring out how to operate them at the same time. I touched on, that not necessarily having been the original business plan. So,
Mhm.
Eric's background is real estate. My background is more creative.
Mm.
So I am behind our brand. I am behind, just sort of all of the creative direction. And certainly, my background in marketing is helpful here.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but our strengths are not operations, and we originally set out to invest in campgrounds with partners,
Mhm.
and we thought we would have a third party management company run the day-to-day operations at our investments. and
Very
and
logical, Allie.
yes, right, because
That seems like,
he's
yeah, that's what one would do, right?
that's what one would do.
Yes.
Yes, so we had acquisitions and real estate, all that, down, and brand development down. And
Right,
we'll ask the experts to manage the properties.
right.
So we identified a third party management company. We were working with them for the couple months in advance of our first campground acquisition. And I will say that we were starting to have some red flags come up, but we were each talking each other sort of out of it. It'll be fine. And then I did have the instinct to be present at the campground on closing day, I thought that I would be there to, meet with the sellers
Motivated one.
again,
Right.
to meet the team that was going to
Yeah.
be working on our
Right.
campground. And I did not have to be there because this was, 2021 COVID time. So closings were happening virtually just fine.
Mhm.
Um, but I went up and, my plan was to be there on closing day and then maybe stay at our comps in the area, have a cute little week to myself while Eric was down in New Jersey with our 3 children, holding down the fort. And it's closing day. I'm with the sellers at the campground that we have guests. It's the week before Memorial Day weekend,
Wow.
and there's nobody from the management company present. And it's 9 a.m., 10 a.m.,
Oh my
11 a.m.
goodness.
And I realize that
Nightmare.
I think I'm in a different situation than I think, I thought that we were going in.
Yeah.
So I immediately, kick into sort of save face mode.
For
Um,
sure. Yeah.
and I am with the
No,
sellers
you had
acting
no
like it's
option.
all that's right. Oh, this is
Yeah.
all, going according to plan. I am here because I want you, the sellers, to train me on our new property, rather than the management company that I thought was showing up. So we we essentially I switch gears. I call Eric and I say, I don't think I'm coming home for a little while, because I think I have to run our campground. And it just, there's no time to think. It
Right.
was just acting and reacting. So I spend the next few days training on the property with mom and pop, who have just sold us their campground, their life's work. They
Yeah.
are they are selling a campground is not, it comes with a lot of emotion.
Oh my
Um,
goodness, for sure it does. Yeah.
and that is something that, Eric and I have been really cognizant of as we, build our portfolio, our collection is the emotional element
Yeah.
of somebody selling their campground. And so I am, while knowing I'm in a completely different situation than planned, I'm still making sure to, honor the
Mhm.
lessons that I'm being given on this campground and these guests that are, repeat customers of the seller, of the infrastructure that he's, hand built in many,
Yes.
instances. But it was hard work. And
Yeah.
he did not, they did not have a staff. This was true
Mom
mom
and
and pop
pop.
operation. So
Mm.
I was at the desk. I was running around, fixing electrical minor stuff. I was, I was responding in storms when limbs were coming down. I was running the honey wagon because they had
Wow.
seasonal guests on unsewered sites. So I was running that service that had been in place. Um, and, eventually the management company did send somebody, from corporate to sit there and run in whatever their version of day-to-day operations was, until they hired people to manage the campground. And that was the only campground that we put into a third party, situation. We eventually took it out. It's now managed by Spacious Skies Campgrounds. But that first experience buying a campground and then having an unintended crash course in running a campground and actually
Yeah.
managing the property was our genesis
Right.
as what
Yeah.
Spacious Skies is today. Um, and we're lucky for it. I think that
Right.
first experience has given us a tremendous amount of perspective that we would not have gotten otherwise. And it was a lesson in, pivoting and quick thinking and being flexible and being again, like honoring sellers and being deferential, like I would not have had that firsthand experience of what it means for somebody to hand over their work unless I had been in that situation. And so it was unexpected and it was really frustrating.
Mm.
Um, but we are lucky to have had that.
I
Um,
love that you're saying we were lucky to have had that.
yes,
We're
I mean
lucky to have had that.
it.
I know you do. And one of the things I love most about building businesses is, I know it's a cliche word, but just go with me on this, is the transformation that we go through, the way we grow. It's so much about growing people to grow the business, growing ourselves to grow the business. So, when this happened to you, I mean, yeah, from the perspective now, you can look back and say, this literally created the foundation on which we have built, obviously, but how we train other people. Like all of a sudden,
Right,
you have this heart. I'm sure you had a heart for the people initially anyway who were selling to you, but that goes to a whole nother level. If you spend even one day understanding that this was their baby,
right.
they raised it, and a completely different perspective in how it forms your company. And that was a transformation, right? Like you showed up, you changed, you pivoted, and that's the thrill of the business, I think. So wonderful that
It's
you have such a great attitude about it. No resistance. Like you
no,
said, there's
and
no time, right?
there's no time. That's right. When there is no like option but to just act and do and move forward. I mean, I think that we operate Eric and I operate well in those environments, and we seem to have had a team join us that also like responds to that type of environment and it works well under those conditions. And I think that is very much also behind why we have, seen the success or
Mhm.
gotten as far as we have today. It's not just because, Eric and I are that way, but our team is very much in sync in sort of like that mindset and that way of working. And all of our headquarter team members have had experiences working on our campgrounds in some capacity or another. So that thread of understanding, what it means to work on a campground, to be in outdoor hospitality is something that is, known throughout our whole organization.
Sure. It's
It's
completely created and
That's right.
informed your culture. I just want to say one thing about that. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I don't want to forget. And I love
Yeah.
everything that you're sharing, because if you have a vision and your team is not aligned and they can't buy into it and understand that that actually can become their vision, it
Right.
becomes a very rocky uphill road. But you already created from the very beginning inspiration for them and genuine caring, and they're inspired by you because you did this, right?
Yes.
You've been in the trenches with them, and then they get
Yes.
to be in the trenches with you. And so anyway, I just want to compliment you on that, because not everybody sees it that way. This is very unique, and this is why I'm convinced that you've been so successful. You can't do it all. You have to have a team that is aligned with your vision and the way that you interact with your guests. It's huge. It's everything, actually.
Collaboration is like, it's not just like part of the culture, the company culture, but it is like an element of the brand itself.
Yeah.
Like the service that we provide on each campground is very like much um based on the individual and individuals who are working and running the campground. Like our
Okay.
direction to our management on site is to put like make your mark
I
on
love
on
that.
this campground within a certain structure, right? I mean, we have a brand
Mhm.
and we have like a look and a feel and fonts and colors and all of the things that make, a brand in a
Yeah.
visual
Mhm.
perspective. But, service is it's it's very much a whole element within the brand itself. Camping at a Spacious Skies campground is not like necessarily about like what the amenity package is that is constant, throughout the collection.
Yeah.
It is about like feeling like you are that it's a community that is not just the community of the campground, but community of like the whole. We want people to feel like they are part of something, that they belong, and that is because of I think that is that feeling is there when you camp with us because we are fostering that within the team itself. Our
Exactly.
team
Yeah.
needs to feel like they are part of something bigger than themselves, that they belong.
I love
And
that so much.
it is that common thread.
You see, you're doing it from the inside out, right? And I don't know, a lot of organizations don't do it that way. They have these, here are our values and here's our mission statement,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
we're
Right.
gonna tape it on everything and like put
Right.
post-it notes all over. But you're doing it from an internal perspective. Could you give maybe an example of one of your locations and how management has kind of, because they it becomes their property, right?
Yes.
They
Yes.
they feel ownership when they can express their version of hospitality. So could you
Right.
share maybe some anecdotes or just an example, a description of what that looks like on maybe one of your locations?
Yes, absolutely. So Spacious Skies Country Oaks is our home state campground. It's in southern New Jersey. So we're headquartered in New Jersey. And we purchased it from a mom and pop seller who ran the campground for about 20 years, and maybe they were the second or third owner of the campground. I mean, it was real like family.
Yeah.
Everyone is a returning guest, and they were our guest population was very tied to this couple who we purchased the campground from. We come in and we we are a brand, right? It was, I think, the eighth or ninth campground in our collection, and it was met with some resistance because it's like, oh, this big corporate faceless
Sure.
buyer is coming in. And so, oh, we're not that. Like I just of course I'm going to say that our brand is not corporate and faceless, but we really aren't. And so the way that we have to like prove that
Mhm.
is through how our management comes in and runs the campground. So
Yes.
we have a native New Jerseyan who is our general manager now at Spacious Skies Country Oaks. And she is a super creative person. She's a painter, she's a photographer.
Mhm.
She has had management experience before, so she knows how to like run a team. And she has the experience there is exactly what I'm describing. I mean, you come in and you feel like you are home. It
Yeah.
is the way that she runs things is that her team acts and behaves like a family, like a cohesive unit. And so when you are coming in, you are part of that cohesive unit. And they have a really active creative activity schedule that one of her team members who actually, I mean, the manager who I'm speaking of is actually now the regional manager
Oh,
of the
okay.
region. She built up the culture at this campground, and she built up who took her place, who was originally like a front desk agent and now has followed her
It's
into the
excellent.
manager role, so that it's a continuation of that like inter campground culture even.
Yeah.
So the new manager, who used to be the front desk agent, has like a karaoke DJ background.
Oh,
So like
fun.
every weekend is karaoke weekend at
Yeah.
Spacious Skies Country, because that is something that like she comes with and brings with her. They found like an old cart or something from the cellar in one of the sheds. Then they converted it. The team converted it into an ice cream cart. And so
Oh,
they have
great.
this cute ice cream cart that they bring around at the pool and sell ice cream from it. And that's like something that the team built
Came up,
together and created
yeah.
together.
Oh my god.
So it really is like it's community. It is taking the individual like talents of the team members and just like literally infusing it into the camping experience that people have there. So I think that, I mean, yeah, it's
That
example after example like
I
that.
know. I really love this so much because it's, I think it's funny when I read research and studies on what makes culture work when it's just so intuitive and it's so human.
So
When
human and
when people
intuitive. Exactly. Yes.
like if can you imagine like when you build an ice cream cart together, you're
Yes.
bonding around fun and like how are we going to serve and it's fun and it's engaging and um that's what makes people are not always looking just for a salary. It's never just the money. It's they want a
Yeah.
family, they want community, they want to feel like they matter and they're heard and seen. They want
Yes.
everything your guests want.
Yes.
They are
Yes.
your guests, right?
It's true. It's true. And we have like servant leadership as like another sort of tenant. Like
Wonderful.
our who works for us, like we are working for them. And
Yes.
I that is for sure another common thread, but you're absolutely right. It's not about compensation. It
No.
is about feeling like supported and with freedom and autonomy to be
Yeah.
yourself, to know what your job is, to have clarity on what
Hmm.
you're supposed to do on a day-to-day basis. Like that communication is huge for
Yeah.
that satisfaction. But for sure, like it's expected and promoted and encouraged that people come up with creative ideas and
Right.
get the chance to present them and implement them.
Yeah. Oh, I
And
love it.
we really don't stop people from doing that. Another example, Spacious Skies Balsam Woods is our most northern campground in central Maine. And we are very close to one of the only international dark sky parks in on the East
Oh,
Coast. They're
wow.
mostly out towards the west where there's
Mhm.
more like
Dark
dark
sky.
sky. But we are though I think it's one of the only ones on the East Coast is an hour or so from Balsam Woods, so it's a really dark sky up there. And so our manager up there has been working the astronomy angle,
Yeah.
um, which also ties very much into our brand. Spacious Skies has this like
Right.
cosmic, spacey feel about it.
Yeah.
So she has taken it upon herself to engage with like local astronomy professors and has been like just playing up the celestial angle. And she's
Mhm.
actually she just let me know that she applied for this like NASA like accreditation, like something that puts
Oh, wow.
our campground on like a NASA sky gazing map, and like we're one of the only ones in the area. Like a dot in Maine is, that's us, and that's her project.
Her
um,
initiative. Yeah.
yes, that's right. So that
It's
it's
great.
I love stuff like
I
that.
do too. And again, people go through all kinds of antics trying to how do we motivate our team? How do we make them show up? How do we help them to take more initiative? And the funniest thing of all is that it's simple. And
It's
and we are always talking about, well, experiential outdoor hospitality, right? It's all about the experience. Everybody's always talking about that. How do we create the guest journey and these novel experiences? Well, it's no different than with your team is the same thing. How do
exactly.
you give them freedom to become who they want to be
Yep.
within
Yep.
your structure and framework? And to your point, it's like every child needs a
Oh,
framework and a
yes. Yes.
structure and
Right.
consequences and like,
Yes. Yes.
um,
Yes. There still has to be some structure around it, but I for sure find that, like, even when an idea is presented to me that, like, I wouldn't, I wouldn't think of, or like, it's not my favorite. I have to let it play out because the
so
experiment
true.
is worth it,
Oh,
and it is
yes.
worth it for the team member to have, like, that approval, and be able to stretch within that, those bounds. And sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes it
Right.
does. The experiment is always worth it.
Yes, the experiment is always worth it. And one of the biggest advantages that you can give your team is to allow them to fail. It's like
Yes.
being in a functional, healthy family, you know?
Yes.
So when
Yes.
you said this, like the experiment is worth it, that shows that you are so invested in your team members that you're there for the long haul. It's not like you accomplish this and then you get punished if you don't do it. Like you have
That's
this
right.
beautiful paradigm, which is reflected in everything. It's really, really exciting. So I have another question for you because 15 campgrounds, I know you've got a business background, okay? And that's helpful. And yet, running a campground has some unique challenges, right? So, how did you go through? Did you learn everything you needed to learn about systems and everything at the first one? Or did you knock your head against the wall, try things like how did you
Goodness.
come to this streamlined place where you are now?
I don't know if we are yet streamlined. It really is, I mean, it has been a journey. We did not make, like, every decision perfectly. Like, we have transitioned our accounting software 3 times. Like,
Oh,
there are still things like that. And now our system and our processes are like, I will, anyone who wants to ask me about, like, how should I do accounting for my, like, multi-park system, like, please ask me, because I have the answers.
that's
It's what we
amazing.
do is great. But for I mean, most other things, we just have really been having to build up, you know, what I say, in many instances when we're all talking sort of like as a company, and we're, trying to inspire
Mhm.
each other, is like, what we have done is create something out of nothing.
Yes,
And you have to, I mean, nothing is nothing.
that's
That's
right.
you s- you're not starting with, and we've, like, got this foundation. Like, no, we have built the, brick by brick, the whole foundation together. And sometimes, a ball dropped, and sometimes we knew it and sometimes we didn't. Like,
Yeah,
I have no idea sometimes, like, and that's the journey in this sort of, like, entrepreneurial
it is.
adventure, is that you have to, that's just the whole thing of it. You have to be okay with not having all your ducks in a row, and still having to operate and still have to move forward. So, like, right by now we have a, big old training manual full of SOPs, and something that people can come into and learn from, as a new team member right away. But we haven't always had that.
Mhm.
And we are, in many instances, sort of inventing and reinventing, processes and systems,
Yeah.
due to what is needed in that moment. Like, we'll do something one way because that is the best way for us to do it now. And
Mm,
then next week, even,
yeah.
we might have to do it a different way. And that, like, flexibility is part of our culture as well. Like, when we interview somebody to come in, that is expected, that, that you're not coming into a set environment where everything is static. where everything is done the way it is done, and that's how it's going to be done. You come into Spacious Skies knowing that like it's going to be flexible,
Right.
and that's not for everybody. Um, some people really are uncomfortable with that, but we try to make that as clear as possible in the recruiting process so that you know you're coming into that culture, that environment, and that
Yeah.
has worked well for us.
It sounds like it's worked very well for you. Spacious Skies, it's the sky, it's spacious skies. It's not a
Yes.
staid corporate environment, right? You have attracted the right people. The business tends to take on a life of its own and like a child, right? And you just keep moving and adjusting and that's kind of the chaos of creativity where you live, right? So you're comfortable with that because you have this heart of an artist, I know, and
Yeah, it's
it
true.
seems like there's a really nice balance between the order and the chaos, and you have the confidence to allow that chaos to be there, and that is such a unique thing, Allie, because
That's so
that's what makes your brand. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. And yes, because there is order and there is chaos, and it
Yeah.
has to coexist.
Yes.
And yes, that is something that is definitely part of like you have to be comfortable with this, or you're not.
Yeah.
And so I love that you keep on bringing up that it is much like raising a family or raising children, because that's exactly how I see it and how I look at it. And those are metaphors that like we bring up a lot too. I mean, there are so many parents in our midst. Right before starting Spacious Skies, I went from, being an MBA student, and then we were working, Eric and I together, in actually the same real estate development office. And then we started a family, and unintentionally, based on, sort of like career moves and geographical moves and whatnot, I ended up being the primary parent and not working outside of the home for about 5 years.
Mm.
And I have to say that like I I gained so much perspective in those 5 years that I have brought with me into like team leadership and management
Yes.
just as much, if not more, than my business experience and my business education.
Mm.
And I love hiring people who have had like that primary parent experience, because they bring this like energy and perspective and wisdom that um it is about like treating the ecosystem like a family, and knowing that each individual is unique, has unique needs, needs unique attention. um and it's the individual campground, it's the everything. It can be seen in that light.
Yeah.
So I love that you keep on bringing that, because that's how I see it too.
I really am glad that you do, and I think that especially in this industry where you want to bring your heart to it. I mean, you're dealing with people who are trying to get away from their controlled work environment, right? And the more you can embrace that. So tell me a little bit about your how you integrate your family life with the business.
Oh my gosh,
Because your
in
kids are still
so
pretty young,
many ways.
right?
Yes, they are 9, 6, and 4,
Very
and
young.
they're
Yes.
really young.
It's
And
amazing what you've done.
and they
Wow.
love it. They love Spacious Skies. They are little brand ambassadors. They, so I find myself on site pretty often. Between Eric and I do more of the traveling, and we have a family camper. Our story does start uh during the pandemic. We got this camper to get out of the house because we were, stuck like everybody else inside. And we camped in 2020 at least 30 nights in like almost as many campgrounds. Like we
39.
hit this lifestyle hard. And it was out of that like first summer that Spacious Skies the idea came to be. We thought, this is something that we are now passionate about as a family. And Eric and I have these complementary skills, and these business degrees. We put it all together into something that is it's our family passion. So when I, am on site or have to, travel between campgrounds, I have my own little teardrop trailer that I pull and I camp in, and any chance I get, I'll take one of our children.
Oh,
And they'll
such a
join
gift.
me, and it's so wonderful. And
Uh,
we also have two family dogs, and they their images are actually in our brand imagery as well. Like if you look on
yeah,
our loyalty program is called the Cosmic Camper
saw that.
Loyalty Program,
Yeah.
and that brings that like outer space element into
Uh,
it. Um, the dogs in the Cosmic Camper program are called Cosmic Canines, and the little logo that is a tiny Australian Shepherd
yeah.
is our dog
Oh,
S'mores.
okay.
And then our chat bot is our other dog, Spacey. So like our
Oh
two
my
dogs are
gosh,
represented
that's
in the
so fun.
brand.
It's all part of the brand. Your kids were really little then. In
They
2020,
were.
you had a baby. Your 4-year-old was like
Wasn't one. He was 8
wasn't
months
even
old.
1. Oh my goodness. And you
Yep.
camped for 30 days.
Yes, we would go for like 8 days, and then we would come back, and then we'd leave another long trip again. And we went mostly south from New Jersey and a little bit west. But we camped at, I mean, every type of campground you can imagine. It was just like this crash course, this primer
No kidding.
in camping.
Research.
It was, and we didn't even
Yeah,
know we were doing it until halfway
right.
through. The idea of Spacious Guys I think it came about around a campfire after we put the kids to bed, and we were at a KOA, which is, like that is the brand, that is the private campground brand.
Right.
And we were looking up at the stars, at the spacious skies, and it just, it overwhelmed us, like simultaneously. Like we can put our spin on this. Like we love this so much as a family. We want to be behind that experience for as many people as possible. I don't have the latest numbers, but I know that on average, who the number of people that pass through our campgrounds in a year, I mean, are just like in six digit figures. Well over 100,000 people a year will pass through Spacious Skies. I mean, it might be much more than that by now, but it's we are very
Allie,
genuine in
yeah,
wanting to touch those many lives, and give people these experiences.
Allie. If there were a template for how to build a business, I think you have laid it out. I mean, it's a good idea if you could go to business school and you went to Duke, right?
I went to Duke, yes, Eric
So
went to
that can
UNC.
be on your side. Like anybody that can do that, that's a good way to start. And then, I mean, I'm joking, but there's some kind of advantages that because Eric had been in the real estate development space already. But honestly, beyond that, and there are a lot of people that have those what I'm calling advantages that never do anything. First of all, to keep going camping again after you came home with 3 kids is kind of a big deal for a lot of people. Like, "We're really going out again to do this?"
I'm sorry, but I will not deny that it was not difficult at first. Like sometimes it's like, wow, we were crazy to just keep going.
It's
Because
so great, though. It says so much about you, you know? So what I just wanna say this really quickly. So the template for success, I mean, think about it. It really is finding what you people always say, find what you really love, find what you're passionate about. And everyone kind of jumps off the cliff right there. Well, like, I don't know. And
Yeah.
or they're too afraid to admit that I'm sitting at this campground looking at the sky and you get that idea, how many people shut it down right then? You didn't shut it down, you went after it. And obstacle after obstacle, you just keep moving through it. And the fact that you're doing it with your family is, I mean, building a business as a family, like with your husband, is no easy task. But then you get to teach your kids, and it's just it's like the new version of the mom and pop, because you have
Yes,
everything you need. You're keeping the heart, but you know how to scale. So
yes,
it's a
yes.
beautiful kind of recipe. I just it's so inspiring.
And we do refer to mom and pop, like, we want people to have that feeling that they know and love being on a mom and pop run campground at, all Spacious Skies campgrounds, and we think of ourselves as the mom and pop of campground brands, and we it's not just about, what Eric and I want on the campground. It is going back to making sure that the leadership at each location knows that they are infusing, what their unique offering is.
Yes.
But yeah, that is how we look at it, like
Yeah.
the mom and pop of campground brands.
Yeah, except that you have the ability to actually scale it, which very, mom, that's why mom and pops, they really don't scale.
It's
They
well,
stop
yeah,
eventually, and it
it's like a
sucks the life
perfect
out of them because they're exhausted. And you're
yes,
you're setting it up so it won't be that way. It's strategic and business minded, but you have not lost the heart, and that's kind of the crossroads for real success and impacting people in the way that you want to, and providing those opportunities for them that you had, and the best because you actually went out and did the research. Camping with three little kids.
yes. We know exactly what, like, we not just wanted, but needed.
Yes.
And it's not much, right? Like, we're not saying that every campground has to be, some like luxury boutique
Yeah.
experience. The needs are basic, but they need to be in place. And the like what we love so much about camping is the natural, like, connection to the great outdoors. It's truly,
Yeah.
like we like to say, we keep camping camping.
I like
It
that very much.
and it is very genuine. You don't have to, like, put too many things, like, in place to create an environment for people to enjoy being outdoors.
Oh,
And it is as simple as that. So, like, we haven't developed anything from the ground up. I don't think that we will. We go into campgrounds that have existed already, and infrastructure is in place, and the business has already been going, and we're just coming in and putting our, touches and spin on it. But we are not seeking to be, like, sort of resorts. We're not seeking to compete at that level.
mhm.
We were very intentional about naming ourselves Spacious Skies Campgrounds, because we are campgrounds, and there is that connection to nature that has to be, before we have a campground join the collection.
It's
Um,
so great, Ellie, because so many people are not allowing it to be what it is. And I help, I mean, that's what we do. We develop resorts for people, and they are
yes,
you can call it a glamping resort if you want to, but
right,
really they are luxury, right? And you
right.
still have the adventure and everything. But what I really like about what you've done is you're allowing it to be what it is. And as you're speaking, like I don't know. I grew up camping. I remember the first time I went to a KOA, I thought it was uber luxurious because they had
Yes,
showers.
yes,
Because
yes, yes,
we would
yes,
camp like I was a Girl Scout and I could whip up a tent in like I was so proud.
yes,
Gather the
yes,
wood, make a little hut in
right.
case our tent break. It was like so that kind of adventure where it's you and nature,
Yes,
battling it out.
exactly.
And
That's
then
right. Like, yes, Eric and I grew up, like, when I thought of RV camping growing up, it was like that is so fancy. That is
Yes,
so
so fancy.
yeah. Like,
Yes.
yes, I'm
And
similar to
then,
you.
but what I was going to say about that too is that what I remember, I mean, my mom would be like, tent or no tent tonight. That's how we camped. I was like, I want to see
Yes,
this. Why would we put up a tent? Like, that's ridiculous. But what I remember are the relationships that we built with the people and the managers and the kind man that brought us firewood when we didn't have any and it was raining or so when you're building that mom and pop stuff, like you never forget that. You never forget those really simple acts of kindness or connection with the people. And I think more and more people are seeking that. How do we simplify, be present in nature, not be alone, but be private and have those basic things like cleanliness? And when you've got little kids, you're changing diapers and stuff, and that's a thing.
yes,
So
yes.
you're accommodating all of that, and it's
Yeah.
it's really beautiful.
The connection to other people, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious to say that, like, as every year goes by and technology, like,
Yeah.
continues to be more and more not just present in our lives, but like a necessity to survive.
Yeah, yeah,
um I think that, for sure, like the natural connection to nature and to the earth in combination with our focus on service, customer service, on hospitality, on our humans who are part of the Spacious Skies team being human to other humans.
yes,
And like, even when something is not perfect for a guest on site, like if something goes wrong, if there's an issue, it matters so much more how the team member and how that manager, how that staff
yeah,
like treats that situation and interacts and engages with the customer, the camper, like when something is wrong, then it is for everything to be perfect. And so
yes,
we find that, like, so many, frequently we have reviews come in that are 5-star that talk about, some issue that you could point at and say, oh, that, that made that trip less perfect. But
yeah,
how the team member like addressed it and helped, help the fix the issue, or address it, or just, make the camper feel like they were being taken care of. That is that's what people are looking for.
yes,
That for connection and to be taken care of and to be
yes,
heard and everything we were talking about before.
yeah,
And so those things, trump um other, sort of like luxury experiences that like need to be out there and need to exist. I
sure,
love a boutique experience.
sure,
Um,
yeah, we
but
all do.
we all do.
There's
um,
definitely a time and place for that.
yes, yes. But yeah, it's nature and service that we focus
Nature and service. And these are the moments in hospitality that when you have the right team, we look for those, we wait for those. We want to take a difficulty or what somebody would call, a complaint or a problem and turn it into transform it again, the term of transformation. Like how do we apply our magic wand to this one and
yes,
make it something even better, and those become your most loyal fans, right?
yes,
And think
yes.
about it in terms of a family too. Like I like to think of this as in your family, when you screw up, they let you know, right? Like I don't know what your family is like, but like sometimes 20 years later they remind you of something.
Oh
But
yes, oh
so
yes.
when a guest comes and they have a problem and they're not being their best self, and you can see through that and love them to the other side, they who does that? Their family has never probably done that for them, you know?
Right. No, that's right. That's exactly right.
It's a great opportunity, and you
We
guys
love
know
our
how to
camper.
do it. Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's not easy. It's not easy to put aside your own human feelings to, put the person in front of you, put their feelings above yours.
Yes.
But that is hospitality, that is customer service. And it's so funny. I'm looking at this book right now that I have on the table, Unreasonable Hospitality. This is our, these are our philosophies.
Yeah.
Is what Will Guidara has written in Unreasonable Hospitality. We have to go above and beyond.
Yes. Oh
It's
my
worth
gosh,
it.
Ellie, this has been such a delight, really. And the last thing I'll say to you is when you're talking about technology and everybody's talking about AI, well, I get it. We want to use those as tools, but you're speaking about human intelligence at every level. And yeah, so what do you want to leave the audience today with? You've shared so much and it's so beautiful and valuable. I'm just loving this conversation.
Love, I just love what I do. I love what we do, Spacious Skies as an organization. It comes from the most genuine place. It is our team operates with this like shared vision. We are our mission is to keep camping, to be the option for all who want to recreate in the outdoors. This is something that we didn't get to really touch on yet, but Spacious Skies, we have found ourselves being sort of the loudest voice in the room when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think that the RV camping space, it is no secret that for decades and decades and decades, it has been a bit of an exclusive, homogeneous space.
Mhm.
And through partnerships that we have with organizations like Black Folks Camp 2, LGBT plus outdoors, Girl Camper, we are seeking to, not just, it's not about proving that everybody is equal. Like that is not the 2023 message. But what we are saying is that, Spacious Skies Campgrounds, we are loudly the place for you and you and you and you to come camp and feel safe
Mm.
recreating with us. We have the symbols on the door that state like all of our team members are trained to, be as inviting and welcoming to all, and to make sure that there's no activity on our campgrounds that's going to make one person, feel uncomfortable, singled out for just being who they are. So that is something that it's in our blood. That Spacious Skies is the place for everybody, one and all, to come and enjoy camping, enjoying nature with who you love, who your family structure is, whoever you look like, whoever whatever you believe in. And we are very loud and seem to be the loudest in the room. And we
Extraordinary.
hope that does not, that's not the case for too much longer.
That's wonderful. I'm so glad you brought that up. It's very significant. And I don't know, everything about the idea of spacious skies, it contains that as well. It's like we're all here, here we are,
Right.
and we're outside in nature, and it is everything about camping lends itself to that. Like that much of being in nature, because it's a very different experience than if you're inside even if you come with a camper, okay, you're still going to be out with a fire or whatever you're doing. Like it's very different than an RV resort. It's just
Yes, it's true.
polar opposites. So it really, something happens, some magic happens there where you're just kind of stripped of the personas, right? So when you're consciously putting this message out there to everyone that everyone is welcome, it is It's the safest place, like, around a campfire. I know it sounds so cliche, but that's where the barriers break down. When you're not
Yes.
forced, you're almost forced to let them break down
Yes.
and find
Yes.
common ground, and so I really love that you're sharing this, you're positioning yourself to just say it. This is what's happening here. So come
Yes.
and join
And
us.
the name Spacious Skies, like we named our company that. It's patriotic. It is
Yeah.
from the lyric, from America the Beautiful, beautiful for spacious skies. And we picked it not just because of the tie to, America the Beautiful, and the connection to, wherever you are in this great land, whether it's mountain or lake or ocean or field, that everything is under shared spacious skies.
Mhm.
It's a metaphor for that. We are all one. It is all about inclusivity, and it is the umbrella above everything and everyone. And we just, believe in that, we are all one kind of philosophy. And I think that carries through.
I think that says it all. I could speak with you all day, but I think that's a really beautiful way to kind of wrap this up today is we are all one, and obviously everyone's going to come knocking on your door here after this, after they
I
hear
hope
you,
so.
and yeah, or knock on their own door and get outdoors. So
Oh,
anyway, thank
yes.
you so much for just being who you are and what you're bringing to this outdoor hospitality space. It's really, really exciting. And this has been such a delight and a pleasure. I thank you so much.
Always wonderful talking with you, Michelle. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Allie.